Let's play a game. Of the 30 companies that make up the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which would you rather be? Walmart, with its massive revenues of $525 billion per year, more than twice the next highest company. Or would you rather be Visa, with its incredible profit margin of 53%, taking home more than half of every sales dollar as profit? The right answer? Neither. You want to be Apple, with its large revenues and high profit margin, making it the most profitable company in the index. If you're a complex manufacturer or distributor, you know you need this combination of both revenue growth and a healthy profit margin in order for your business to flourish. Adding new products and customers that aren't profitable won't help. Neither will offering only a small range of highly profitable products to the few customers who are willing to pay a premium for them. But here's the problem. Traditional business doctrine has been telling us for decades to focus on revenue growth and to let profits take care of themselves. The idea being, given that fixed costs will remain the same and variable costs will only grow in proportion to revenue, that profit margin will increase as revenue grows. As such, many industrial businesses have chased every dollar of revenue out there with abandon, conceding to customers on service and price, accommodating increased operational complexity and added cost, all while running their teams ragged in the process. Yes, revenue has risen, but in many cases at the expense of profit margin, while profit itself has barely budged. In his award-winning book, Islands of Profit in a Sea of Red Ink, MIT senior lecturer Jonathan Burns claims that 30 to 40% of every business, in terms of its products and customers, is unprofitable by any measure, and that 20 to 30% of products and customers are providing all of the profits and subsidizing all of the losses. In the case of complex manufacturers and distributors, once you have a clear picture of the revenue and full cost associated with the hundreds of products they provide to the dozens of customers they provide them to, you'll often see a combination of money-losing profit takers with some marginally contributing capacity fillers and high potentials being carried along by a group of profit makers. Your business cannot be on the best path to profit improvement without first understanding where today's profits are coming from. When the sources of your profits are unclear, you're relying on intuition and hope that your people are working in the right areas and doing the right things to move the business forward. But chances are that to some extent their efforts are being wasted. Without the information required to focus their efforts, most organizations try to work on every part of the business simultaneously and with equal energy. Winning new customers, growing share of wallet, improving pricing, reducing costs, developing new products, renegotiating with suppliers, investing capital in new equipment, and so on. This is a surefire recipe for overloading your team and undermining their effectiveness. Next, you can be assured that any misalignment amongst the executive team about how to advance the business will only endure and deepen. Should we add these new products to grow the top line or simplify our product range to focus on the most profitable ones? Only the right information about where profits are being derived can bring questions like this to a resolution. And finally, you're left exposed to your competitors' efforts to pick off your most profitable business, not knowing which products and customers must be defended. With clarity on where your profits are coming from and where they aren't, you can supercharge your profit improvement efforts by focusing on the high-value initiatives that will have the biggest impact, while at the same time avoiding the terminally unprofitable business and low-impact initiatives that are keeping your team stretched thin. Getting clarity on the sources of today's profits allows executive teams to see past differing opinions and to become fiercely aligned on how to advance the business, allowing you to increase profits faster and with more certainty of success. The Profit Finder approach is a methodical way to isolate the sources of your profits today and to develop the plan for where they'll come from tomorrow in less than 30 days. It won't suit every business or every situation, but if you're a complex manufacturer or distributor and you're not producing the amount of profit you'd like to see, if your plans to improve profit have slowed down or stalled, or you're simply curious about how to advance your business in an even more methodical way, this approach can help you. The approach has 4 sequential steps, each of which takes a few days to complete. The first is to prepare the executive team to take a deep dive into profitability. Next is to find the profits by product, customer, and production or fulfillment asset. Then, when the sources of profit are made clear, we use this information to identify all potential opportunities to increase profit. And finally, prioritize those opportunities and develop a plan to pursue the most promising among them. Step 1 includes preparing the executive team by first understanding their perceptions of where profits are being derived from today, what's being worked on to improve them, and testing the alignment of their opinions around how best to improve profits moving forward. It also includes preparing the data by understanding what information is being captured at the transaction level, how fixed and variable costs are defined, and how variable costs are being attributed to products. This helps lay out any additional data gathering and manipulation that may be required. In step 2, the transactions are grouped by product, by customer, and by asset, accounting for the business's own unique context. For example, if there are many SKUs but some of them are very similar, then grouping transactions at the SKU level may be too granular. Grouping products that are provided in the same way and sold for the same price is the rule of thumb to follow here. Then for each grouping, a revenue amount and full cost is determined. This cost must incorporate the direct cost attributed to the grouping, as well as an indirect cost that takes into account the demand on indirect activities, and a cost to serve, accounting for any fixed cost activities that specifically support the grouping. This information is then used to plot the profit matrix. The profit matrix is a depiction of each grouping according to its revenue on the horizontal axis, its profit margin on the vertical, with its actual profit, the multiple of revenue and margin, indicated by the bubble size. We can divide this depiction up into 4 quadrants, indicating the profit makers, the groupings with both high revenue and high margin that are creating the bulk of our profits and that ideally we'd create more of. The capacity fillers that have high revenue but low margin, consuming a lot of resources without producing much profit to show for it. The question for these is, how do we increase margin and turn them into profit makers? Next, we have the high potentials with high margin but low revenue. Perhaps some of these can be turned into profit makers by growing their sales volume. Finally, we have the profit takers with low revenue and low margin. These are the least likely to ever become profit makers. When these groupings are depicted on each of 3 profit matrices, by product, by customer, and by asset, each of the 12 quadrants created offers a different type of profit improvement opportunity to the business. For example, the byproduct capacity filler quadrant indicates the most valuable opportunities for product margin improvement through value engineering, improving labor productivity and material yield, or by seeking better raw material pricing. The by customer profit taker quadrant indicates the business with the least potential that the company may want to consider exiting at some point. The by asset profit maker quadrant shows which assets are making the greatest contribution to profit and therefore may warrant additional capital investment to support any future volume growth, and so on. The task of step 3 is to work through each of these quadrants to identify all potential profit improvement opportunities, then estimate their value in terms of additional profit per year, as well as the ease with which they can be captured, including the time and resources required, the investment required, and the likelihood of success. In step 4, the opportunities are depicted according to their value and ease of realization. This allows the team to develop and align behind a plan to pursue the most promising opportunities, up to the limit of their bandwidth and capabilities, while deferring less promising opportunities until later. So now you have a window into the Profit Finder approach, and if you've made it this far, presumably you're curious about gaining a better understanding of where your company's profits are coming from. If this is the case, then I hope you take a next step toward analyzing your sources of profit and gaining some valuable new insights in the process. If you're interested in additional thoughts, templates, or support with applying the approach, you'll see my contact details appear in a moment so that you can reach out. I'll look forward to hearing from you. And in the meantime, I wish you all the best in your efforts to advance your business.